The Center for Educational Media and the College of Education at Middle Tennessee State University are proud to offer professional development to K-12 educators in Tennessee through our online video library. These videos are aligned with standards set by the Tennessee Department of Education. For more professional development videos, check out our website at cem.mtsu.edu.
We're at the SPED Collaborative at MTSU, so glad you're here today. Today we've got some more people who've been nominated right here. Miss Katie Fan from Rutherford County Schools and Dr. Devola Span-Morman from Rutherford County Schools. They are here today and I will leave it to them to continue your introduction.
Thank you.
So glad you're here today.
Good morning again. I am Devola Morman. I am one of the special education supervisors in Rutherford County. I got into education after 12 years in banking. And my undergrad is in finance from MTSU, and then all of my family is educators. I come from a family of educators. I was really upset because everyone else had their summers off and their fall breaks, and here I was working 8 to 6, and I said, I need to find something that I can do in the school system and have my summers off. So I became a school psychologist, and I came back to MTSU and went through their school psych program, loved it, and has been a school psychologist ever since. Then I was a lead school psychologist in Metro and came to Rutherford as a lead school psych, and now I'm a special education supervisor. I supervise our school psychologists, our 504 team, our behavior team, and we also have special education coaches for all of our buildings too. So I supervise them as well. Katie.
All right. And I am Katie Fan. I'm the lead BCBA for Rutherford County Schools. Dr. Morman is my supervisor, so this may be my evaluation for the year. I don't know. I started working, I went to school to be a veterinarian. That's what I was going to do. I graduated with a degree in biology, but while I was there, I worked in a residential school for the summers, and I absolutely loved it. So I got rid of that biology certification and went on to be a special education teacher. I got my master's in special ed from the University of Pittsburgh. From there, I've worked with students with disabilities since I was 18 years old. So this is really all I know. This is all I've done. I taught in self-contained classrooms for about 13 years. I did do a little bit of inclusion. I taught in a self-contained autism classroom in what we called here CDC in Rutherford County Schools. And I've been with Rutherford County for about 22 years. So special education is really all I know. And then I became a BCBA in 2015. So I've worked for the district in the behavior, teaching through the behavior lens for quite a while. So in this presentation, Devola is going to talk mostly about the curriculum, the intervention, some of the statistics, and I'll be looking at those things through the behavior side of things.
We appreciate Ms. Muncie and Dr. Wilkinson's presentation earlier, and we're really going to expand on that and teach you all some strategies to work with your general education teachers. And so now I want you all to put on your trainer's hat as special education teachers and maybe leads as well. So I know we have some SLPs. What other professions do we have?
School psych.
School psych. I was wondering, yes, CA. Any others?
Para.
Para. Thank you for being here. Great. So we have a school psych. I know Ms. Muncie ended her presentation with one of those statements that how many times have we heard and we see a student maybe acting out or doing something, oh, that's one of your students. Does that not get all over you? It's like, what do you mean, what of mine? No, I mean, personally, I have 2 kids. And I have, one is in college and one is in high school. These are all of our students. Now, how many times have you heard someone else say, though, oh, these are my babies? You may be the one who uses that terminology and says, oh, my babies. They're not babies. And if you continue to say, my babies, then, of course, I'm going to assign them to you. And then I am going to say, your kids, because you have already said, these are my babies. So we have to watch our language as well.
As we go through this presentation, one of the things that I will talk about are group contingencies that you can do for managing student behaviors in the classroom, in a general education classroom. So today, I have picked one of you to be my secret participant. Okay, and the way I did that was that I asked Siri to pick a random number between 1 and, I think they said 88. There's 88 participants here today or somewhere around there. And Siri gave me a number and I counted you off. And one of you is my secret student, okay, my secret participant. And the only thing that I require from this secret participant is that you pay attention, okay? What does paying attention look like?
You're looking at the speaker.
Looking at the speaker, right? You're facing me. Your body is facing me. What else?
Listening.
Listening. But what does that look like? How do I know you're listening?
I think it can look different for different people. I think paying attention can look different to different people. I think some people can doodle while they're listening, and some people need to be looking at you to listen.
Sure. So she said it can look really different for different people. Some people can doodle while they're listening, and some people may be staring at me the entire time. If you're locking eyes with me the whole time, that's going to be really weird. So please don't do that. But what else does paying attention look like?
Engagement.
Engagement, feedback. How do you give feedback? I love that.
A nod.
Nodding, right. Just nodding your head every now and then. As a presenter, it's really nice to get just a little head nod every now and then. That lets me know you're paying attention. So those will be the things I'm looking for from my secret participant. Are you facing my direction? Are you looking at me every now and then? And are you giving me just a little head nod from time to time, okay? And if my secret participant does that, you don't know who you are. If my secret participant does that, we have a little prize up here for everybody in the audience, okay? If my secret participant does not do that, well, we'll just take those prizes home for another session, okay? All right.
So today you will learn what general education teachers need to understand about special education. Remember, you all are the trainers. The critical role of the general education teacher in this whole process. How general education teachers can ensure compliance. How many of us in compliance is our number? We are all, how many of you all have red stop signs when you start out? Right, and it's just like, oh, those red stop signs. Behavior strategies for the general education classroom. So under IDEA, I know Tullahoma City, they talked about this, the least restrictive environment. You all, how many of your special education intervention groups are larger than your general education intervention groups? Those tiered interventions? Right, aren't we supposed to be the most restrictive intervention? And I have 15 kids and that Gen Ed intervention, they're sitting over there with 4 kids. How did that happen? And parents are steady more trying to get their kids in special education. And you hate to say, you know what? You want that one-to-one attention and that small group? They have a small group over there. I have a whole classroom over here. So to the maximum extent appropriate, look at that federal regulation. We like to back things up with the federal law. So when you're training your teachers, talk about children with disabilities are educated with children who are non-disabled. Special classes or other removal of children with disabilities from that Gen Ed classroom only occurs if the nature or severity of the disability is such that in the Gen Ed classroom, even with the use of supplementary aids and services, so many times our Gen Ed population they just require so much. Well, really? That's what the IEP is for. So even with those supplementary aids and services, can their needs be met in your classroom? Yes, it can be. And this is the law behind that. Even non-academic settings. We're past that time where students should spend all of their day with you, the entire day. They can't go anywhere with their same age peers. What about PE? Are we mobile? Even children who are not mobile, maybe in a wheelchair, I can still go to PE and hold a ball. I can do something in that classroom. And we know our student peers are so resilient. They're ready to help. All age groups, elementary, middle, high school, everyone's ready to help. So they can go in all settings. Just because I may not be able to do exactly what my same age peers can do does not mean I need to be in an exclusive setting all day long. Building the capacity of our Gen Ed staff. Training for regular education teachers. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. Making sure they understand the differences between IDEA and Section 504. We're not asking you all to give them a whole lesson, and don't overwhelm them, because we know it's overwhelming for us. But can we give them a glossary of terms? And some of the most basic terms. You can do that for your Gen Ed teachers. Child find. Make sure they understand the referral process and those implications behind not finding students with disabilities. What are some of those implications? If we don't find students with disabilities, what happens?
The gap gets bigger.
The gap gets bigger.
The gap increases, yes. What else?
Increased behaviors may happen in the classroom.
Increased behaviors. I may not have had as many behaviors as when I was in elementary, but now I did not receive the types of services and supports that I needed throughout, and now my behaviors have increased because I've increased the gap of my academic deficits, and now my behaviors start increasing. And now I really do look like a student who may have an intellectual disability or an emotional disturbance, when if we had intervened early on, that may not have happened. What are some red flags we can tell Gen Ed teachers to look for?
Absenteeism.
Great, absenteeism.
Not engaged, giving up, the behavior, the withdrawal.
Awesome. Behavior, withdrawal. I know I've had a student before, they made all A's in high school now, and this was a CTE class, made all A's the entire semester. And then at the end of the semester, by about March, the students started making F's, not turning in homework, not completing assignments, and getting F's on things. And the teacher just said, I just gave him an F. Did you ask any questions? You have a student who had straight A's the entire time. That's a red flag, and that's an easy red flag. But he was not in that mindset. He just said, it's a high school student, they didn't turn their work in, okay. No, let's ask questions. Are things okay at home? Any life changes, environmental changes? What's going on with the student? Also, it can cost the district money if we fail to identify students. Litigation, anyone had to go to due process? Anyone have a court case before? And you really don't have to identify, but it can cost your district money. So that training for your regular education teachers, train them on the eligibility standards. Let them know where the Tennessee Gov website is and where all of the eligibility standards are and how we come as school psychologists to the determination of a disability. Adverse effect. Is it a little bit? Is it significant? Educational performance. This is beyond academics or test scores. We hear all the time, but they're making A's and B's. Yes, but what did it take for them to make A's and B's? Is this student silently suffering with anxiety? By the time they get home, they lose it because they've tried to keep it together all day? What about social skills, poor socialization? There are more things than just the educational impact there. The need for specialized instruction, and this is the excellent opportunity for the collaboration. We already talked about building relationships with teachers. This is where that comes in. We want to bring that Gen Ed teacher in from the beginning. They're partnering with you. Now, I am going to show them how to adapt the content, how to adapt the methodology, look at the delivery of instruction. I'm going to partner with them, and we're all going to work together. So when you're doing IEP goals, we often send them the IEP at a glance, don't we? What about we partner, and when I am creating goals, we sit down and talk about it together before the meeting. Now I have buy-in, don't I? Because we've sat down and we've talked about it together.
And think about that concept too with behavior intervention plans. How many teachers really like to just get handed a plan and say, this is what you're going to do for this student? Does that work? No. Even if the strategies that are in the plan is something they're already doing, if you just give them that plan, they might not even realize that these are the same things. You know, and when you can work with the Gen Ed teacher, ask them, well, what do you do? What are some things that are good, that work well with this student? Those teachers in the general education classrooms see the kids more than I do. They know what works for them and what doesn't. So if I hand them a plan, that doesn't go over very well, and usually there's no buy-in and it doesn't get implemented. Actually, sometimes they may have been doing it already, but because I just gave them a plan and said, this is what you need to do, they stopped doing everything they've already done because they're mad. Teachers are, I was this way. I love to be the self-contained teacher because I wanted to be in charge of my classroom. I wanted to rule the show in this classroom, type A personality. General education teachers are the same way. They'll work with you, but it needs to be a collaboration, not this is what you're going to do. And most of the time, like I said, they know better than me what those kids really need.
Again, we said grades alone do not determine whether the child is impaired or impacted by their disability. We look at a more complete examination of the educational achievement of the student. You know, they may not have adversely affected the grades, but it did adversely affect attention, organization, the completion of assignments. We start looking at all of those things for a student and saying, okay, yes, because I know as a school psychologist, I was looking like, yeah, they have great grades, but this is taking a lot. Their organizational system is awful. And we're not trying to make all students college and career ready. That's what parents think sometimes, especially our gifted students. Because they think, oh, they didn't make straight A's this time, there must be something wrong. And it's, no, that may be where they are right now. That's okay. Database decisions, collecting, analyzing, explaining data, using data to drive the services. Remember, we can't say that, oh, we don't provide that here at this school. We don't have a group for that. We're short-staffed right now. I know they really need a smaller group, but how many of us have been short-staffed? Right. And we can't really meet that, but we have to. So we have to watch our language, and we can't say that, oh, we just can't do that right now. We wish we could, but we don't have enough staff right now. General education teachers, we want to empower them, and they need to be able to collect data. So we want to show them how to collect data. I ended up doing my dissertation looking at general education teachers' perceptions of having students with disabilities in their classroom. And oftentimes they said, I don't mind doing it, I just don't know what to do. So remember that. They need you to tell them what to do, to model it, to teach them how to collect data. Then I collect the data. What does it mean? Do we always know what it means? Break it down for them. Training. How to adapt if the progress stalls or regresses. If you have their buy-in from the beginning, then you all can sit down and continue to talk about this in those data team meetings. Define those services that the kids need. The importance of voicing their perspective, even in disagreement. How many times have we seen teachers come into an IEP meeting and not say a word? And you're like, they're with you 80% of the day. I need you to say something. And then after the meeting, then they come and tell you everything. Oh, well, they really couldn't do this, and they didn't know how to. I'm like, why didn't you say that in the meeting? We just met for an hour and a half, and you said nothing.
Have you all ever told teachers you don't need to say anything in this meeting? No? Sometimes that happens where they'll say, we're in a meeting with an advocate or an attorney, and they will say, you don't really need to say anything. It's okay. You don't really need to say anything in this meeting. Yes, you do.
And when she mentioned advocates and attorneys, people are scared sometimes to speak up because we're scared sometimes, especially we have those advocates and the advocates who may come in and spout off special education law to us, and you're not really sure if that's right or not. And we don't know if we want to say anything either. But like we said, in Rutherford, we have special education coaches that can come and help in your meetings. We have special ed supervisors who are available to come. You all need to find out who in your district can be a support. And hopefully you all have a support in your district to come and help you in those meetings. But help them to prepare for and handle those conflict, complaints, and litigation in meetings. Pre-meet. Talk about it. Let them already know, hey, this student has an advocate. That advocate's going to come in here. They're going to ask for this, this, and this. Can we really do that in your classroom? If not, how can we make it look like we are really doing all of this in your classroom? What can we do? Training. Now, this was a court case from California that mentioned that districts are not automatically liable for the employees' violations of students' constitutional rights. A general education teacher physically restrained and kicked a child with a disability. I know. The teacher had received training on PBIS, and the district had no reason to suspect a need for additional training. So the teacher was held personally liable for this. If your district does not offer whatever type of restraint or de-escalation training, look at a neighboring district, see if they offer it. Triad with Vanderbilt offers a plethora of trainings on de-escalation. Seek it out yourself.
Triad came to our district, what was it, 2 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And did a district-wide training on de-escalation and restraint. And they will do that. It's free. You just reach out to them. Just ask. They have a ton of online webinars too that you can take. So if you're not familiar with Triad through Vanderbilt, I think April Ebbinger will be here this afternoon. So make sure you find out how to get in touch with them. But Triad is a great support that Tennessee has.
The 1010 network that they mentioned as well, the access, all of that, the Best for All, it's all out there with different training opportunities. The role of the general education teachers, this came from the National Center of Education. 75% of all students with disabilities spend 40% or more of their time or their day in general education classes. We all know we're shooting for that 80%. 96% of general education educators currently teach students with disabilities or have done so in the past. And they typically have an average of, and I hate when they do this, 3.5 students. What is 3.5 students? What's a half of a student? But okay, on average, 3.5 special education students assigned to their caseload. I had teachers when I did my dissertation who told me, and I graduated in 2021, who said they came through their Gen Ed classes, they were told that these students would not be in their classroom. Think about that. This is in 2021, you were told that students with significant behaviors would not be in your classroom? No. They're going to be in your classroom. What are you going to do? I know some of us do not have a number of EAs that can be in everyone's classroom. I mean, that's great. In a science class, they have, a number of EAs in a classroom. That doesn't happen for us sometimes. We don't have, and even if we said we are supposed to have a one-to-one with the student, no one picked up the job. The job's been out there, so now we're trying to cover it with another EA. So that pulled an EA from somewhere else, and now I've left this Gen Ed teacher. So that's why you all have to empower your teachers. Because when you're doing inclusion, it can't be that you're the disciplinarian in the classroom As the gen ed teacher, I pass out all of the nice positive rewards, and I give all the rewards out. But when it's time to hand out consequences, oh, go see Miss So-and-so over there. Or Miss So-and-so, you handle that. Or I send you all of the students with difficulties. We can't do that. 87% of gen ed teachers felt successful in teaching most students with disabilities to a moderate or great extent. Similar percentage felt somewhat very confident in making educational decisions about SPED students. Their level of confidence was associated with the types of support they received. So I can do it as a gen ed teacher if someone trains me, teaches me, gives me some support. 92% of gen ed teachers who have specific procedures to use with the special education students in their classroom, they felt moderate to great success compared to 73% who had no such procedures or training. So their confidence in serving students with disabilities was definitely dependent upon their relationship with special education teachers. If you take nothing else away, we know communication, building relationships, talking with our teachers. Again, partner from the beginning. I was a special education teacher. I'd go around to classrooms and look and observe in the classroom, see what's going on, see what students you're talking about. That way I already know before things happen that you have a concern about this student. I can come in, I'm doing an observation, I'm working with the other students, and okay, I noticed this student is having some struggles. So they're already on my radar. We're already talking. Then I say, yeah, I think now it's time to go ahead and move. For Rutherford, we say a SAT meeting, a student assistance team meeting. That's what we do. That's the referral process. It's time to move to a meeting. Now we've already been talking, so I know what's going to come up. Then we say, yes, they have now receiving special education services. Let's talk about this IEP. What should it look like? What type of services do they need? What accommodations, modifications do they need in the classroom? Is this feasible? What are you thinking about, teacher? And when they give me what they think the student needs, then okay, I agree. I put it into the IEP. Now I have their buy-in. The goals on it, these were your goals. This is what you thought the student needed. I do the same thing when my kids were little. And I was cooking. I'm not a great cook at all. They said I burned everything. I did. Because I don't have patience. I like for things to be done quickly. And then I would spend all that time cooking, and it wouldn't taste like anything. You know, you spend an hour fixing something, and it's still bland and doesn't. So I would speed it. My daughter's like, you don't have to cook everything on high. I'm like, yes, I do. That's how it has to be finished really quickly. So what did I do? I started letting them come in and cook with me. At age 8, she's been cooking since she's 8. Now she's 16. She made a grilled cheese for us the other day. Now she makes creamy lemon chicken. She makes lasagna. She makes, shrimp foil boils. I mean, she's taking over the cooking now, okay? But my toast on my grilled cheese was a little dark. And I was like, oh, you burned it. She's like, that's not burned. That's just a little brown. That's good. It's all right. Yeah, so when I was cooking, it was burnt. Now that you're cooking, it's okay. But see, they started eating things that they normally wouldn't eat because they fixed it. That's the same thing with our gen ed teachers. Get their buy-in. When I sit here and I tell you a goal or an objective, and you tell me, oh, they don't need all of this. Well, this is what we talked about. This is what you said to do. Same thing with the accommodations. How do we help them ensure legal compliance? How do we help them help us? To the extent appropriate, the regular education teacher of the child should participate in IEP development, review, and revision. Determine appropriate goals, positive behavioral interventions. And how many students do you all have on your caseloads? Throw out some numbers.
30.
25.
35.
I didn't hear anyone say 5. TDOC, you have 5, thankfully. Yes, thankfully, 5. We didn't hear 1 or 2. So am I saying to start with all 30 kids? You may, if this is something new for you, you may want to start with the teacher that you may already collaborate with, and let's see how we can improve this process. Or I may start with the teacher that I know I have not been able to engage her, and let me start with 1 or 2 students, and we can pilot this, where I go in and I meet with the teacher and we talk about the goals before I even develop this IEP. So start small and then work your way up. And then you will find that, okay, once I've set that precedent for my teachers, they will realize before we even have an IEP meeting, she's going to want to come and talk to me about this. And I need to have some information. And not just information, data. I need data because I need them in your classroom. Having a general education teacher in the IEP meeting is vital. It's the law. We have to have a legal meeting, so we need their participation. And not only one is required, we can have more than one general education teacher. In a court case in California, everything seems to come out of California. I'm not trying to, anyone who's from California, I'm sorry, this was easy. But impeded parental participation, because there was not a general education teacher in the meeting, the parents said we violated their rights for parental participation. The Gen Ed, and how many times have we seen our LEAs or our administrators, hey, say, oh, go grab the PE teacher. Go grab the related arts teacher. Okay. Do they have knowledge of the 8th grade curriculum? That what you're teaching and what we're saying they have a disability in? So just grabbing any teacher does not work, because parents have to have the knowledge of the student's deficit and how we're going to help them and what this program is going to look like. So of course, we can't just say, yo, just go grab someone. We're violating parents' rights.
Think about also, do any of you have work with a special day school or have a separate school for students with behavior needs? We just opened a new school here in Rutherford County that's specific for students with behavior needs. They're there all day and they don't have any interaction with students with their typical peers. Okay, so they're only with students with disabilities. If we have an IEP meeting for those students, we may not have a general education teacher because they don't see a general education teacher at all. This would come back and get us because without a general education teacher in the IEP meetings, how do we know what we're working towards with these kids? You know, they may be great in this classroom of 5 students, but what are we working to get them to? So we still need a general education teacher to speak to that next step of services. We don't want these kids to stay here forever. We want them out. We want them back in their school of zone with their peers. So we need somebody in those meetings to speak to what that next step looks like. What are the behaviors that they're exhibiting that are keeping them out of that environment?
So think about these, and we talked about earlier the most common disabilities. What do these 3 have in common?
Communication.
Communication. What about the cognitive ability? Or is that cognitive ability for these categories, is it below 70? No. We're talking about below average to high average cognitive abilities. These students should be in the general education classroom for 80% of their day. So how can I convince a general education teacher that a student with an emotional disturbance needs to be in your classroom? By doing what we just talked about, bringing them in the beginning, bringing them in when we make this behavior intervention plan, bringing them in when we're talking about their goals, their services, their accommodations, modeling for them on how to work with this student in the classroom, knowing what sets this student off. We have Handle with Care. That's where our police, how many of you all have Handle with Care? Great, so some of you all are familiar with that. That's where our local police officers, if they have a student that was involved in some type of activity the night before, then our Office of Security Administrator, they will be notified through text, what have you, that, hey, we have a student, 8th grade student, that goes to, whichever school, and they were involved in some activity last night. That lets us know when that student, because am I going to be in the best of moods the next morning? Then you couple that with my emotional disturbance. Do I know how to handle this now? Now I know I can come in when that student comes to school in the morning, my school counselor, someone may, social worker, already say, hey, Katie, hey, come on in. I already know some things happened last night. Come on in. I can intervene and grab her as soon as she comes into the school building. See if you need to talk. If you need anything today, let me know. We're here. How does that make you feel as a student that you already know? Because number one, I'm probably embarrassed, and I don't want everyone knowing. But if you come in and you already let me know that you're here for me, then we've already set the stage for that student to be successful for that day. What type of training do general education teachers have? I remember our teachers within my study, they said they didn't get a lot of special education courses in their coursework. They didn't have the kind of courses on laws and things that you all did. So your expertise, you truly are experts in this. They don't know this stuff at all. Your administrators don't know this. If they didn't take anything in special education, they don't know this either. You all have to direct them. I came out of school, remember, I came from business, from corporate America. I'm thinking, well, you're the principal. Don't you know special education law? And then they were asking me questions, and I was like, okay. And then I realized, oh, they don't know. So we have to help and teach and train.
I just finished my EDS and got my administrator's license. Do you know how many classes I had for special ed? 0. The only assignment that I had for my EDS in special ed was to attend an IEP meeting. That was it. Submit your notes on an IEP meeting that you've attended. That was it. I take that back. I think I had to collaborate with a school psychologist to write the steps of a manifestation. But that was it. That was all I did in special ed. So your administrators, unless, like she said, unless they have a background in special ed, they don't know. They're relying on you.
General education teachers have not been taught how to collaborate. We've said it a number of times, relationship building. People are open to doing things, they just haven't been taught. Most of the time, we assume best intentions. They want to do this. They want to learn. We just have to take the time to teach them.
All right. Behavior strategies that work. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about group contingencies. Remember, I have a secret student out there, or a secret participant out there. Are you paying attention? We'll talk about the good behavior game, secret student that we're doing right now, punch cards and boosted grades, MTSS or multi-tiered systems of support, and finding windows of opportunity. Okay? The good behavior game, have any of y'all heard of the good behavior game before? Okay. The good behavior game is where you want a student's marks to be below a preset number. Okay, so I may say, I want less than 5 marks in this class period. And the teacher chooses the rules. Like I did with our secret student though, or our secret participant, you need to define what those rules are. Determine what the behaviors that you don't want to see from your student, what are they? And what do they look like? Make sure everybody in the classroom really understands what we're going to count as a behavior or not. You can divide your classroom into teams or not. It can be a whole group contingency. Desired behaviors are praised. When you see a student doing a good job, you're going to tell them they're doing a good job. You'll put a mark on the board if they don't follow the rules that were predetermined. Okay? And if the marks are below that set number, the whole class wins. It's really simple. As a BCBA, this is going through my head like, oh, we're counting all the bad things they're doing and not praising the good things. But this is actually an ABA strategy, okay? So it works. The biggest thing is that you have to really define what behaviors you're counting.
And that for some of your seasoned teachers who don't believe in giving, everyone getting a trophy and all of that. And I have a hard time sometimes with that too. Everyone doesn't get a trophy. But, I put that aside sometimes. But for those that, they like to count those bad marks. Well, okay, this is the game thing for you then. You can count as many bad marks as you want to. Where were you from?
Me?
Yes.
Sumner County.
Sumner County. She's familiar with this. She cheered for it, so.
So I am currently a student teacher with my crew over here. I graduate in December, and we were taught the good behavior game. We were taught a little bit different variations of it for different students to meet their different needs. The one that we played frequently was our teacher would come in and she put on a tiara. If she put on that tiara, we knew we were playing that good behavior game. We knew what our expectations already were, and we battled against each other. She would never tell us who got the mark in the team. It was just, oh, team one, you got a mark. We'll try again next time. And she'd praise everybody that was doing the good things. And it honestly made our class go so much better. But then we're like, hey, stop it. And then we just go about our day. And I did that with my third grade placement last semester, and they absolutely ate it up. So it's a lot of fun to play the good behavior game, but not a lot of people know about it. And one of our ABA, she was our ABA teacher who taught us all about it. So I just love it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. These are great things to pull out in about March, April. But there are some great variations too. One is beat the teacher. So you can do that where the students earn points for good behavior, which is something that I like more, and the teacher earns the points for this when you break the rules. So it's kind of a competition between the teacher and the students, and then you can really pay attention to the good things that they're doing. It allows for more flexibility, and it has a more positive approach. So I like that. You can also use preference assessments, and I say this sometimes when people hear a BCBA say preference assessments, they think like this is, a long drawn out thing. But it doesn't have to be. One of the teachers that I worked with a few years ago just sent a form to all of our students, like rank these things in order, and they did it on the computer, and she could then decide what the class favorite thing to earn was and what individual students' favorite things to earn were. And they were ranked, so we weren't getting the same things all the time. The good behavior game is great, easy, and fun. It was fun, wasn't it? Like the kids really tend to enjoy it. Secret student is the one that we're doing now. Again, the rules are defined at the beginning of class. The student is picked as the secret student. Only the teacher knows who the student is, okay? Why is that? Are any of you a little bit worried about being the secret participant? Yeah, if you don't know if it's you or not, the whole class has got to follow the rules, right? It's not just one person, it's everybody. The student has to follow the rules the entire class period. If they meet the requirements, the student discloses the name of the student, okay? But if they don't, we don't tell the class who the secret student was because we don't want the class to be mad at that student, right? So you just say, we didn't meet today. We'll try again tomorrow. I actually learned about this game. I am a supervisor for an online university for students who are getting their BCBA. And one of my students asked me if she could try this. She taught middle school, these are like 7th or 8th grade students, and I kind of went, well, all right, try it, middle school kids, I don't know. She had so much success with this, the kids loved it. Then she put in that preference assessment, the kids just really, really ate it up. You can do like I did and choose from random. That's what she did. She put all the kids' name in a basket and then pulled kids out. But then there was a day when she had a kid that just came in, they had just failed a test or something, they weren't doing really well, and she knew that kid needed a pick-me-up. So because it was secret, nobody knew what name she was pulling from the hat. That kid was the secret student that day. So he got to be the one that the class earned the prize for. So that was really nice. It was a good way to make that kid feel better about themselves in a day that was kind of crummy for him.
And Katie brought up a great point. We think sometimes because kids are older, they don't like games. Everyone loves games. Everyone loves to win something free. We don't really care what, you could give me a pack of Post-its and it's free. Oh, great, thank you. All right, awesome. We got something free. And so it could be the smallest of things. I just had my daughter's sweet 16 birthday party. And I was asking, so I was like, what kind of games can we play? And someone said, games? They're teenagers. I was like, we played the cup game. Head, shoulders, knees, cup, and you have to be the first one to grab the cup. Those red Solo cups were so torn up by the end of the game because they were so competitive. We did musical items where I had 10 markers around and 11 students, and they went around the table. They're dressed up in their fancy dresses, okay? But these kids got into it. The smallest, quietest young lady pushed this teenage boy down. I had to put her out of the game. But so don't think just because they're middle schoolers, they're high schoolers, that they no longer want to do things like this. They get into it, and they are very competitive. So the smallest of things, and we don't have to offer them the biggest rewards. Anything small is great for them.
Free is the best.
Mm-hmm. Question back here. We have a question back here.
Can I say something? The
Hold on,
teacher.
wait for the...
I'm sorry.
You're good.
Back up to the Beat the Teacher game. This is a great way for teachers to take data on that one student or the behavior student. And I was taking data up on the board. Nobody knew it, but I could mark how many times in that 15-minute increment or whatever by putting that up, by playing Beat the Teacher. I kept my data on the board, take a snapshot with my camera or whatever if I didn't even have time to write it down, and had it on the date. It's a good way to take data that is not complicated, that you do, that has a great reward for the whole class. So if you're having to take data, that's a great way to take data. I was just trying to...
Yeah, that's great.
It helps.
Absolutely.
I love it. I love it.
Other ways for gen ed teachers to take data, this isn't in here, but you just reminded me. We would put paper clips or those bingo counters in one pocket and transfer them to the other. And that's a good way for gen ed teachers to do it too, where you don't have to have a clipboard all the time and write things down. So lots of good ways for gen ed teachers to take, that's hard. But that's something that you guys as special education teachers will have to teach them as well, because they're not thinking, oh, that's one more thing that they have to do. And wrapping your brain around one more thing is tough. So showing them, giving them little ideas like that makes data collection a lot easier. Punch cards and boosted grades. Punch cards are really easy. This was an idea that one of my teachers that I worked with from Sumner County used. Every student has an index card. They earn punches, just hole punches in their index card for predetermined rules. Extra punches for going above and beyond. If you do things better, you may get another punch. And then they can turn their cards in for when they're full for the entire class to get a reward, or to get a reward for just themselves, or they can pull their cards together to earn a bigger reward for the class. And she even said like the popcorn and movie reward was the biggest one. The kids always wanted to work together to get that. Boosted grades. My high school teacher did this. When I was in high school, he was my social studies, I don't remember what social studies class, but he gave out index cards with his signature. It just had a boosted grade stamp on it, and he'd put his signature on it. And when you answered questions in class, he'd give you the card. They were for class participation and grades on tests and turning in homework. And his big thing was, if you're answering questions in class, turning in homework, you're learning the material. That's what his goal was, for you to learn it. So then you could turn in those tickets or those cards for no homework passes, extra credit, things like that. The one thing I will say you need to be aware of they became like a line of credit in the school, and students started selling them to other kids. So be aware of that.
I did something very similar. I also did general education for 8 years before I moved into special education, and I did extra credit for lack of missing assignments. So if a student had 0 missing assignments, they could earn 5% of their 9 weeks grade as extra credit. And if they had 5 or more, it was 0 extra credit. But it really rewarded those students who had done the work without penalizing those or making anything else that I had to grade.
We have another one up here.
So I actually use punch cards in my special education small groups. And I'm sure you guys have all seen them, where it's 10 punches and they're a little cutesy. And when we have a reward system in our school that I help with it. You get halfway, you get that ticket. You get all the way, you get to go into my prize box, or they have an option, right? But as a group surprise, once I have enough tickets from everybody, I would bring in the Nintendo Switch for a day, and we would play Mario Kart, because that's a great game that you can play quickly and as a group, because you have small groups, so you have enough people to play.
That's great. Yeah. And something, to take away from these things, whatever you're using does not have to be beautiful, pretty. Tally marks are great. Punches on an index card, a Post-it note. It doesn't have to be something that you're spending a lot of money on or spending a lot of time creating. They should be quick and simple. MTSS, how many of you use some kind of school-wide plan, whether it's PBIS, RTIB, something in your schools? Okay. In Rutherford County, I've just kind of taken over that also. In our district, we're trying to really push for a good, at least tier 1 level of behavior support district-wide, okay? I know, like Devola said, I don't believe everybody gets trophies. I don't believe in that. I hear that a lot, and I think that's a big misunderstanding of what PBIS or MTSS really is. It's great to give people dojo points or tickets for doing the right thing, but I think the biggest takeaway from MTSS or PBIS is that you have a school-wide plan. You have procedures in the hallways. You have procedures for what the cafeteria is supposed to look like, for what it's like when you go to the bathroom. These are the rules for those areas. MTSS or PBIS provides those things. It's not so much about earning the points or earning the tickets. That's not what it should be about. It's great, that's another layer to it, but those procedures and expectations are so huge, and reteaching them when students don't meet those expectations, reteaching them when you come back from fall break and spring break and Christmas break, because we all forget. We teach kids how to read every single year they're in school until they graduate. We teach them every single year. Junior in high school is still learning something related to how to read, but we never really teach them behavior, okay? So PBIS or MTSS, RTIB, whatever you want to call it, is a great way to teach those things that kids just don't learn, even more now than before. Not all kids learn how to behave at home. Reinforcement is given often for good things, though. That still should be there. The last one here is finding windows of opportunity. This was something that we learned about this summer from a trainer. He trains managing crisis safely. That's the restraint techniques and de-escalation techniques we use in Rutherford County. His name's Robert Hudson, and he teaches at Glenwood Academy, or he's a director at Glenwood Academy in Alabama. But this was a new part of that training, is finding windows of opportunity. And he said, you have to look for the very small connections that you can make with students. When you see those little glimmers of connection, you need to jump on them and take them. An example he gave of this was there's a student who was in middle school who was never on time. She never did her work. She came to class, but just not on time. And sometimes while she was there, she was a little disruptive. But one day she came in and she looked at her teacher, and I'm going to use Dr. Mormon as an example because I know she has beautiful fingernails. She came into the classroom and the teacher walked in or the kid walked in and she looked at the teacher and she said, your nails look okay today. And the teacher said, oh, you like my nails? And she said, well, that's not what I said. But this was the first time that that student had ever really paid any attention to that teacher. So that teacher thought, well, maybe she likes this. Maybe this is something she's interested in. And she pulled the little girl aside, not little girl, she was in middle school, pulled her aside and said, if you come to class, I think you might like my nails, but if you come to class every day on time for the next 3 days, I'm going to get my nails done. If you come to class on time every 3 days for the next 3 days and turn in all your work for 3 days, I'll let you pick what I put on my nails. And guess what happened? She came to class on time every day for 3 days and turned in all her work every day for 3 days. And she got to pick what she had on her nails. And so then she said, okay, I'm going back in 3 weeks to get my nails redone. If you can do your work for 3 weeks, you can pick what goes on my nails. This kid had never done anything before, nothing. And she did all of her work for 3 weeks and came to class on time for 3 weeks so that she could pick what went on those teachers' nails the next time. And then after those 3 weeks, she asked her again, okay, you come to work on time or you come to class on time and do all your work, I'll let you pick what goes on my nails. And that little girl said, you know what? I don't think it's fair that I'm the only one that gets to pick what goes on your nails. I think the whole class should pick what goes on your nails. And the teacher said, okay, but only for kids that come to class on time and turn in their work. And by the end of the school year, every kid in that class was turning in all of their work and they were coming to class on time. She had the craziest nails in the school. Skulls on her fingernails and all kinds of crazy stuff. But it was fun and the kids liked it. They accepted this student that they hadn't liked before, and that was from a small little comment that she made. So looking for those windows of opportunity, anything you can find to just connect with those kids. And is it always going to work like that? Probably not. I mean, that's fantastic that it did, but realistically, it doesn't always work that great. But if she got just 3 days out of her and her nails, that's better than she had before. And it was a way to connect with that student, and she was willing.
And it's not just the students. We've been talking about building relationships, collaborating. We're all adults. We all have lives outside of school. School, for some, may be their life. And you feel like, oh my goodness, they take home, just like you all do, every student's problem. They take that on. We talk about ACEs, adverse childhood, experiences with students. Well, those students become adults with ACEs. These are adults that we're working with ACEs. So don't forget that everyone is human. Everyone, we assume best intentions with everyone. Our Gen Ed teachers have a lot on their plates. We have a lot on our plates. You compound all those plates together, and something's bound to explode after a while. And it will happen, we know that. But we're gonna give grace and patience to everyone. And we're just going to give them your expertise and your knowledge that you all have and share it with them. You could hear a teacher right now probably who's fed up and has said, now you want me to do a secret student too? Now I need to do a good behavior game, what? How is this going to work? So you may have to go in and model it and show them how this works first. But the group contingency is the best way to get started, because now I'm not just singling out my one student. This is for everyone. And then the young lady started thinking about everyone wanting to help pick out the teacher's color of nails. Can you imagine the young men in there too thinking about that as well? That's funny. You're thinking that, hey, everyone's in. It's something to do. And these are middle schoolers. They do care. And we care about our students. Gen Ed teachers care about their students too. So we just have to give them grace, give them training, give them knowledge, keep working with them, keep talking with them. But the number one thing is the buy-in. Have them buy in as to what you're selling. I mean, because this is the plan I need you to implement to get them better and to get them across. Who doesn't want to have a good school year? And sometimes I've had teachers who met before the school year started. Some of our teachers, they come in a week before. So they go ahead and meet with the special education teachers, meet with the assessment specialists, the SLPs. It's like they meet with everyone to go ahead and develop a plan. We know the student is coming. We know they're coming. We heard about the student last year. We knew they were coming to our grade this year. So let's get prepared and let's get ready for them. And let's welcome the students and welcome the teachers every day. Any further questions you all have? Comments?
Yes, thank you. I just had a comment on what you said about, I heard the students coming. I taught Gen Ed for over 25 years before I moved to SPED. And I got to the point where I'd say, you know what? I'm just going to see how that student is with me. And once I started doing that and blocking out what you telling me, if that's the case, then I'll find out on my own. But, I appreciated it, but it's kind of like I need to see how that student is with me.
Right. Awesome comment.
So what would be some first steps that you would recommend as you're building that collaborative teaching between SPED and Gen Ed? What are some first, would that come from the SPED side or the Gen Ed side? Or, I'm thinking about our SPED teachers aren't always the ones that are in the classroom doing the inclusion, and how do you then incorporate that? But just some simple first steps to kind of build a little more team as in those inclusion times.
I think number one, and it's a number of different approaches. I know for me this school year, I have my list of students that I am already thinking about that I know may be challenging this year. They come in and they're ready. And so we need to be ready for those students too. So I already have a list, and then getting my team together and knowing that I need to talk to the special education teacher, I need to talk to the Gen Ed teacher, social worker, everyone. Can we meet? If it's not on Zoom, we have to do everything else virtually. We can do this. Let's do something like that on Zoom where we can all talk together. If I am just wanting to start out, I may not be that teacher in the classroom, but in inclusion, then I may go ahead and pull that student's IEP and have a meeting with that teacher and the inclusion teacher and say, hey, all right, let's talk about this student's goals. Because we know IEPs are already created, and we want to start new practices with the new IEPs, but these that we already have, let's still say, hey, these are their accommodations, the modifications. Not just having you sign off on it and leave it somewhere and say, everyone, I need you all to go by, room 348 and sign the paper. Let's do something. We're going to be more proactive now. I'm going to go with you, and this is the accommodation in the classroom. This is what it looks like. Is that feasible for you in your classroom? What does this look like? Many times teachers say, well, you know what? They don't even use that accommodation. Okay, then give me that data. I need how many times you've actually tried to offer that accommodation to the student and how many times they did not use it. Because we can call an IEP meeting at any time. And we can do that. We may need to remove that accommodation. Because many times our Gen Ed teachers say, they just had too many accommodations. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So it's one of those things of opening the lines of communication. I'm not always right about everything. I am really, but I tell my husband that 99% of the time I am right. But okay, you gotta let him feel like he's right sometimes. But let them feel like they're right. Great idea. That is awesome. Great, let's think about that. How can we remove this accommodation if we think we don't need it?
And I would kind of piggyback on what was said over here. I don't know her name, but what county she was from. I was a softball coach. That really helped connect me with other kids in the school building, other teachers in the school building. When I had to talk to somebody about a softball player, now I had a relationship with these teachers that I could now start to have discussions about kids. And I'll be honest, most of the good discussions that I had with teachers didn't happen in a PLC meeting. It happened just because we knew each other, and my assistant coach would mention a problem she was having with a kid after a softball game, and then we'd talk through it then. So creating relationships with being involved, just being involved in your school building, really, really, really helps with that. And another thing I would say is learning the curriculum. If you're going into a classroom and you're teaching algebra, or you're supposed to be supporting algebra, but you don't know a thing about algebra, that's really hard. And that puts more work on us, I know it. But if you can't support the kids, if you don't understand the curriculum, how are you supposed to help support the teacher? So I think just maybe, you talked about some good ways that you share assignments using Google Classroom and stuff. Paying attention to what's happening in that class. And if I don't understand, I did inclusion 6th grade math. I didn't know how to convert a percentage using like cross multiplying and stuff. I hadn't done that since I was in 6th grade. But I had to learn how to do that before I got to class so that I could help the kids learn how to do it. So that's another thing, is learning the curriculum that's happening in that classroom is helpful.
And that's what our paras and EAs have mentioned as well. They are happy to help in the classroom, but can you at least give me the book, give me something so I can get caught up to speed on how to help the student?
I'm a relationship kind of person, and I feel like I know my caseload before school starts, and so I'll pick out the teachers that I know where my kids are going to be going, and I make a special effort to beeline to them before school starts, to drop a note in their teacher box, and I cannot tell you how many meetings I've had changing classes. And I'm like, I know they're doing hall duty, but I can walk down there and I can say, you know, I've been noticing this, and what are you noticing? And even to get their advice or input before I write my behavioral goals or any of my goals on my IEP. It does not, I rarely get to sit down with a gen ed teacher, rarely. It's mostly just like in passing. But it works, and I also feel like if you can build the relationship with the teacher, and I love what you said, make them feel like they've got lots of input and knowledge about it. Oh my gosh, it's like it just becomes seamless because then they're going to rely on you as you're relying on them, and it's a team. It's just very important, and especially new teacher, very important to build relationships with those teachers in your building. Personal relationships. How's your dog? I'm sorry, I heard he died yesterday. Whatever. Just that. To make things move seamlessly, you've got to have relationships, and you can't be bossy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Don't be a know-it-all for sure.
I kind of do the same thing as I get to know the teachers, but I work in a high school that's 3 stories. I don't go seek them out after everyone, but I have created forums. But anyway, I create one and I send it to the teachers so they give me input. What are you using in the classroom? What are some needs that you have? Are they using their accommodations? Because sometimes I don't know what they're doing because I'm not in the class if they're in biology or chemistry. But one of the biggest things for behaviors that I've come across is some of the teachers have really poor classroom management. I have kids that are excellent in every other class because they know the expectations. And if you don't have clear expectations, my child with ADHD is going to be bouncing off the wall because they don't know what, and that's been a struggle because you go in and you give suggestions because even if you're not in the room, you're telling them, well, I sometimes go observe to just kind of see it. I'm like, well, have you tried giving assigned seats? Well, he picks on this person. We'll move them apart from each other. And they're not consistent. And I feel like sometimes I've had to involve somebody higher than me to work with on classroom management, because our kids can behave and do what they're supposed to do everywhere else. So that becomes a you problem when you're not because classroom management is key. And it's going to look different in different classes, but you still have to manage the behaviors of everyone in the room, because kids, I know it's shocking for all of us, but even kids that don't have an IEP sometimes have behavior issues when they're not structured.
I love you said that. Katie's famous line always is, do other students usually act like this too? Then why is it so significant when a student with a disability does it, and now it's time for them to be suspended and sent to an alternative location when the other 3 students just did the same thing? And it's, oh no. So, right, I love that. Comment here. Microphone. Mm-hmm.
Well, who teaches, but thinking about that, who teaches classroom management? Where do teachers learn classroom management?
Other teachers.
Other teachers, or either they just figure it out.
School of Hard Knocks.
What's that?
It's the School of Hard Knocks.
The School of Hard Knocks, right? So when I'm working with other teachers, sometimes I do try to keep that in mind. We as special educators learn a lot of these strategies as we're going to school, as we're learning accommodations, and we learn things that are not just successful for special education students, but for everybody. We know these things, but a lot of our general education teachers don't. They've never been taught this stuff. So I'm always coming from a place of love. Like, I don't mind telling somebody, your schedule is really kind of a free-for-all. Let's figure out how we can sit down and work together to make sure that we've got some good behavior management in your classroom. And you guys may be, I don't know if you are or not, but you may be the school expert on those things to help general education teachers with that too. Classroom management is tough. Not for everybody, but for some people, yeah.
I was just going to share something. I was a general ed teacher before I worked for the state. I'm here as a representative from the state now. But something that worked for me, and I'm sure other teachers use this too, is the first day of school, I would say you have one assignment before you come in for your first day of class. And it was a Google form. And it was very simple. It was their interest, their name, their favorite subject. But one of the questions on there was your favorite song that's school appropriate. And I turned it into a playlist. And so whenever they would come into the classroom, it would just be like calming acoustic versions of that song. But if they behaved throughout class, they knew when they did group work or they were doing individual work, as long as it wasn't distracting to certain students. I did one time have an IEP where it said, no music when they're doing their work. But I would play the real versions of the song, and they loved that. I taught high school sophomores, and they absolutely loved that. So that's just something super easy to incorporate if you feel like it would work for you.
Awesome, thank you.
Maybe we have time for one more, and then I will reveal our secret participant.
As a new teacher, you need to give yourself grace, because it doesn't matter. You're going to have a lot coming at you, and you're going to feel frustrated. You're going to go through that roller coaster emotions and no training is going to prepare you 100% of what you're going to do walking in the door. You're going to learn as you go, and the best teacher's experience. So give yourself grace as you teach, because you're going to be your hardest critic, and you just need to give yourself grace and find something that you can go to and just have that moment, because that's what's going to get you through. Teaching is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And you've got to give yourself grace, or you're never going to stay in the profession. We lose so many new teachers in the first 5 years. So the biggest advice I can give you, give yourself grace and find good mentors. They're going to get you through, and find something that you can relax with or chill out with while you're giving yourself grace.
Absolutely. I get choked up when I think about how terrible I was my first year teaching. Like, I was awful. It's amazing that I stayed through it because I almost didn't. And that's true. I almost left in December and never would have stayed with the profession. I don't know why I did. Well, I do know why I did. There was a behavior specialist that helped me. If it wasn't for him, I would have quit. Teaching is not easy. It is not.
So let's find out right now. We know we've got a first-year teacher right here. We've got a new graduate right over here. I'd like for y'all to stand up. Please stand up. Stand up. Do we have any other first-year teachers, either last year or upcoming? If so, stand up. Okay. All right. Now keep standing. So in just a moment, we're going to have lunch, which is a networking lunch. This is a good time for you to touch base with people in this room who have experience, or those of you with experience to come on over and meet these new colleagues in the room and give them some of your tidbits. That'll be our networking project for this upcoming lunchtime. So thank y'all for joining our profession, and have a seat.
And I'm going to cross this white line really quick. It was number 28, and you were my secret participant. What's your name? Alicia Bird. And she earned the prize for all of you by paying attention.